National Electrical Code Article 408.8 states enclosures for contactors, relays, switches, and fuses shall be constructed of non-combustible material. NFPA 70 Standard for Electrical Safety in the Workplace paragraph 110.24 states electrical equipment shall not be installed in a location where it may be exposed to flammable liquids, vapors, or gases. Based on these code requirements, plywood is not an acceptable material for backing plates on metal enclosures containing 480-volt lighting contactors. Plywood is a combustible material that can ignite and spread fire in the event of an electrical failure or short circuit. The metal enclosure itself must also be non-combustible and have a proper rating for the voltage and current being used. The enclosure must be properly grounded and bonded to prevent any potential electrical hazards. Contactors should be mounted on non-combustible supports within the enclosure. The enclosure should be located in a well-ventilated area to prevent overheating and the accumulation of flammable vapors or gases. It is recommended to replace the plywood backing plate with a non-combustible material. Acceptable alternatives include fire-retardant treated plywood, sheet metal, non-metallic electrical panel board, and fiberglass reinforced plastic. Ensure that the new backing plate is properly installed and meets all applicable codes and safety standards. The selection and use of materials in electrical installations are governed by various articles within the National Electrical Code, or NEC. When dealing with enclosures for electrical components like contactors operating at 480 volts, it's crucial to understand the specific requirements for non-combustible materials. Firstly, the NEC defines non-combustible materials as those that will not ignite, burn, support combustion, or release flammable vapors when subjected to fire or heat. This definition is vital because it sets the standard for what materials are acceptable for use in electrical enclosures. Secondly, Article 408.8 of the NEC is directly relevant to the scenario. This section mandates that enclosures for devices such as contactors, relays, switches, and fuses must be constructed of non-combustible material. The purpose of this requirement is to minimize the risk of fire and to prevent the spread of flames in the event of an electrical fault or overheating. Thirdly, the choice of materials for backing plates within these enclosures is equally important. While the metal enclosure itself is typically non-combustible, the backing plate, which provides a mounting surface for the contactor, must also meet the same non-combustible standard. The NEC does not explicitly list every acceptable and unacceptable material, but it provides performance criteria that must be met. Fourthly, plywood, in its standard form, does not meet the NEC definition of a non-combustible material. Plywood is a wood-based product that will readily ignite and burn, posing a significant fire hazard in an electrical enclosure. Therefore, using standard plywood as a backing plate for a 480-volt contactor is a code violation. Fifthly, there are alternatives to standard plywood that can be used as backing plates in electrical enclosures. Fire-retardant treated plywood is one option. This type of plywood is chemically treated to reduce its flammability and slow the spread of fire. However, it's essential to ensure that the fire-retardant treated plywood meets specific standards and is approved for use in electrical applications. Sixthly, sheet metal is another excellent choice for backing plates. Steel or aluminum sheet metal is inherently non-combustible and provides a robust and safe mounting surface for electrical components. When using sheet metal, it's important to ensure that it is properly grounded and bonded to the enclosure to maintain electrical safety. Seventhly, non-metallic electrical panel boards are also suitable for use as backing plates. These boards are typically made from fiberglass reinforced plastic or other non-combustible materials. They offer good electrical insulation properties and are resistant to moisture and corrosion. Eighthly, fiberglass reinforced plastic is yet another acceptable material for backing plates. This material is strong, lightweight, and non-combustible, making it a good alternative to metal in certain applications. When selecting a backing plate material, it's crucial to consider several factors. Firstly, the material must be non-combustible according to the NEC definition. Secondly, it must be strong enough to support the weight of the contactor and any other components mounted on it. Thirdly, It must be compatible with the environment in which the enclosure is located. For example, if the enclosure is in a damp or corrosive environment, the backing plate material should be resistant to moisture and corrosion. Furthermore, proper installation of the backing plate is essential for safety. The backing plate should be securely fastened to the enclosure to prevent it from coming loose or vibrating. It should also be properly grounded and bonded to the enclosure to maintain electrical continuity. In addition to the material of the backing plate, other considerations are important for ensuring the safety of electrical enclosures. 1. The enclosure itself must be properly rated for the voltage and current of the electrical system. 2. It must be installed in a location that is free from flammable liquids, vapors, and gases, as required by NFPA 70. 3. The enclosure should be adequately ventilated to prevent overheating. 4. All wiring and connections within the enclosure must be properly installed and maintained to prevent electrical faults. It is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer to ensure that electrical installations comply with all applicable codes and standards. Failure to do so can result in serious injury, property damage, or even death. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards that governs the safe installation of electrical wiring and equipment. It is updated every 3 years to reflect the latest advancements in technology and safety practices. Adherence to the NEC is essential for ensuring the safety of electrical systems and protecting people and property from electrical hazards. Article 110.3 B of the National Electrical Code addresses the requirements for the listing and labeling of electrical equipment. This article states that listed or labeled equipment shall be installed and used in accordance with any instructions included in the listing or labeling. This means that any electrical equipment that has been tested and certified by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or all, must be installed and used according to the manufacturer's instructions. The listing or labeling of electrical equipment provides assurance that the equipment has been evaluated for safety and performance and that it meets certain minimum standards. The listing or labeling will typically include information about the equipment's voltage, current, and horsepower ratings, as well as any limitations on its use. Following the manufacturer's instructions for installation and use is critical for ensuring the safe and reliable operation of electrical equipment. Failure to do so can void the equipment's warranty and can create a safety hazard. Article 314 of the National Electrical Code covers the requirements for junction boxes, pull boxes, and conduit bodies. These enclosures are used to protect electrical conductors and to provide a convenient location for making splices and terminations. Article 314.3 addresses the requirements for the construction and installation of boxes. This section states that boxes must be securely fastened in place and must be adequately supported. The boxes must also be of sufficient size to accommodate the number and size of conductors installed in them. In addition, boxes must be suitable for the environment in which they are installed. For example, boxes installed in wet locations must be watertight. Article 314.16 provides rules for calculating the number of conductors that can be installed in a box. This calculation is based on the size of the box and the size of the conductors. Overfilling a box can create a safety hazard by damaging the conductors or making it difficult to make proper connections. Article 314.17 addresses the requirements for the use of conduit bodies. Conduit bodies are similar to boxes, but they are typically used in situations where it is necessary to make a sharp bend in a conduit run. Conduit bodies must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and must be properly supported. Article 250 of the National Electrical Code covers the requirements for grounding and bonding. Grounding is the process of connecting electrical equipment to the earth. Bonding is the process of connecting different metal parts of an electrical system together to create a low impedance path for fault current. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety because they help to protect people from electric shock and to prevent fires. Article 250.4 addresses the requirements for grounding electrode systems. A grounding electrode system is a network of interconnected electrodes that are used to connect an electrical system to the earth. The grounding electrode system must be capable of safely carrying fault current back to the source of power. Article 250.8 addresses the requirements for the connection of grounding and bonding conductors. Grounding and bonding conductors must be connected to equipment and to each other in a manner that provides a reliable electrical connection. The connections must be made using approved methods, such as listed connectors or exothermic welding. Article 250.118 lists the types of conductors that are permitted to be used as equipment grounding conductors. Equipment grounding conductors are used to connect the non-current carrying metal parts of electrical equipment to the grounding system. Permitted types of equipment grounding conductors include copper wire, aluminum wire, and rigid metal conduit. Article 300 of the National Electrical Code covers the requirements for wiring methods. Wiring methods are the ways in which electrical conductors are installed and protected. Article 300.4 addresses the requirements for the protection of conductors from physical damage. Conductors must be protected from physical damage by being installed in conduit, tubing, or other suitable enclosures. The enclosures must be securely fastened in place and must be of sufficient strength to withstand the expected physical forces. Article 300.11 addresses the requirements for the support of wiring methods. Wiring methods must be supported in a manner that prevents them from sagging or coming loose. The supports must be spaced at intervals that are appropriate for the type of wiring method being used. Article 300.14 addresses the requirements for the length of free conductors at outlets and switches. A sufficient length of free conductor must be provided at each outlet and switch to allow for making connections and for future maintenance. The length of free conductor must be at least 6 inches. Article 310 of the National Electrical Code covers the requirements for conductors for general wiring. This article provides information about the types of conductors that are permitted to be used in electrical systems, as well as the ampacity of conductors. Article 310.15 addresses the ampacity of conductors. Ampacity is the maximum amount of current that a conductor can carry safely without overheating. The ampacity of a conductor is determined by its size, insulation type, and the ambient temperature. Tables in Article 310.15 provide ampacity ratings for different types of conductors under various conditions. When selecting conductors for an electrical system, it is important to choose conductors that have sufficient ampacity to carry the expected load. Using undersized conductors can create a fire hazard. Article 310.16 provides ampacity tables for conductors rated 0 to 2000 volts. These tables are used to determine the ampacity of conductors based on their size, insulation type, and the ambient temperature. The tables also provide correction factors for adjusting the ampacity of conductors when they are installed in raceways or cables, or when there are more than 3 current-carrying conductors in a raceway or cable. Article 430 of the National Electrical Code covers the requirements for motors, motor circuits, and controllers. This article provides information about the installation, protection, and control of motors. Article 430.22 addresses the requirements for the minimum size of conductors for motor circuits. The conductors supplying a motor must have an ampacity that is at least 125% of the motor's full load current rating. This is to account for the fact that motors can draw more current than their full load current rating during starting and overload conditions. Article 430.52 addresses the requirements for motor overload protection. Motor overload protection is intended to protect the motor from damage due to excessive current draw. Overload protection can be provided by fuses, circuit breakers, or other overload relays. The overload protection device must be sized to protect the motor without causing nuisance tripping. Article 430.83 addresses the requirements for motor disconnecting means. A disconnecting means is a switch or circuit breaker that is used to disconnect a motor from its power supply. The disconnecting means must be readily accessible and must be capable of being locked in the open position. This is to allow for safe maintenance and repair of the motor. The NFPA 70E standard, also known as the Standard for Electrical Safety in the Workplace, provides guidance on protecting workers from electrical hazards. Paragraph 110.24 emphasizes the importance of not installing electrical equipment in locations where flammable liquids, vapors, or gases may be present. This is because electrical equipment can be a source of ignition, and if it is located in an area with flammable substances, it could cause a fire or explosion. The standard also covers other aspects of electrical safety such as lockout/tagout procedures, personal protective equipment, and training requirements. Electrical safety is a critical concern in any workplace, and following the guidelines in NFPA 70E can help to prevent accidents and injuries.